नमस्कार, द रेड माइक की इस प्रस्तुति में आपका स्वागत है। एक शख्स हैं, एक बहुत बड़ी हस्ती हैं मीडिया जगत की, जो अभी आप फ्रेम देख करके ही पहचान सकते हैं कि वो कौन है। वो कई लोगों को कई दशकों तक इंटरव्यू कर करके पानी पिलाने के लिए उनको एक महारत हासिल है। तो हमें लगा कि आज एक कार्यक्रम उन्हीं हस्ती के साथ किया जाए और उसका नाम भी हमने रख दिया है वाटर विद करण। कॉफी विद करण तो आपने देखा होगा, आज द रेड माइक पर वाटर विद करण। करण थापड़ जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया द रेड माइक से बात करने के लिए।
Thank you very much for inviting me, Sanket. It's a pleasure to be with you.
बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग होंगे जो कि बच्चे होंगे, जर्नलिज्म के स्टूडेंट्स होंगे, जो लोग आपको सुनते आए हैं, कई दशकों से सुनते आए हैं, आई विटनेस के जमाने से भी, उससे पहले से भी, उसके बाद आपकी अलग अलग इनिंग्स जो अलग अलग टेलीविजन चैनल्स में रही, और अब आप जो इंटरव्यू करते हैं। एक चीज जो नहीं बदली है वो है आपका सवाल पूछने का तेवर। मैं एक चीज आपसे ये जानना चाहता हूं कि इतने सालों में जो आपने इतने सारे लोगों का इंटरव्यू किया है, आपका मकसद क्या रहता है उस इंटरव्यू करने के पीछे? लोगों को असहज कर देना, टू मेक देम अनकंफर्टेबल, या फिर सवाल इस तरीके से पूछें दैट यू गेट अंडर देयर स्किन?
हकीकत यह है संकेत कि दो चीजें नहीं बदली। तब भी मेरे बाल सफेद थे, अब भी सफेद हैं। लेकिन उस चीज के अलावा इंटरव्यू करने के टाइम पे मेरा एक ही मकसद होता है कि whatever is the truth I'd like to find. I firmly believe that questions are asked in an interview on behalf of the audience. And therefore, if you're asking a question and the audience is listening, courtesy to your audience demands you get an answer to that question. Otherwise, the audience is wasting their time. They've committed themselves to listen to you. They're hearing you. They want an answer to the question you've asked. You need to pursue it politely, no doubt about that. Never be rude, but firmly. And you need to pursue it till such time that you either get an answer or it becomes patently clear to the audience that you're being resisted. At which point, you need to become a little psychological and say to the person you're interviewing, why aren't you answering this question? What is the problem? Don't you believe you have a duty and responsibility to answer? Or are you worried about something that might happen if you were to answer it? But you need to get to that point because at the end of the day, the audience has invested time in you, and it is discourteous to them to ask a question, fail to pursue it, leave it hanging in the air, and move to something else.
करण जी, अभी आपका एक जो हाल फिलहाल का जो इंटरव्यू है जो कि खासा वायरल हुआ है, और वो है प्रशांत किशोर के साथ, जो आप लोगों को सुनते आ रहे हैं और कम से कम हम तो बचपन से ही सुनते आ रहे हैं। हमने एक चीज नोटिस की है कि करण थापर इज अनफॉरगिविंग। और देखिए, जैसे मैंने बोला, वो ब्रांडिंग आ गई है वाटर विद करण, कि कैसे आपने अपने तमाम इंटरव्यूज में, मैं भी एक जरा से पी लूं, सवाल पूछते पूछते भी मैं नर्वस हो रहा हूं। आपकी एक स्टाइल ऑफ क्वेश्चनिंग है और मकसद आपने वो बता दिया। इस इंटरव्यू में आपको लग रहा था कि जो आप सवाल पूछ रहे थे वो वाजिब था, चाहे कोई नाराज होता या ना होता, वो पूछना ही था, जैसे इस केस में वो हो गए, एंड लेटर ही वाज फैक्चुअली इनकरेक्ट।
मुझे हकीकत है कि समझ नहीं आई कि नाराज क्यों हुए। आखिर मैंने उनसे ये पूछा था कि हाउ कॉन्फिडेंट आर यू ऑफ द फोरकास्ट और प्रेडिक्शन यू आर मेकिंग। व्हेन यू आस्क समवन हाउ कॉन्फिडेंट दे आर, यू आर नॉट questioning and suggesting they are lying or that they're speaking an untruth. You're simply saying कि आप prediction बना रहे हैं. How confident are you? Are you 100% confident? 80, 90, 70, 50? It's a bit like when you bet on a horse. People do it with different degrees of confidence, but they do it because they want to do it and because they believe they could be correct. It was in that nature that I asked the question. And I wanted to point out to him that there have been occasions when he has been wrong. One was, as he tweeted, and the tweet will go up on your screen, no doubt, in a little moment's time, about Himachal Pradesh. In May 2022, I think he tweeted on the 21st of May, he said Congress would be routed. It wasn't
electoral rout.
There's the tweet. And the second thing, which he didn't even let me ask because he interrupted my question before I could get to that point, is that similarly, in September 2023, in an interview to Navika Kumar, he was asked about Telangana And I think he said his words, I'm saying this from memory, but I think I'm right. His words were, BRS will come home, which means that they will win. They didn't. Congress won instead. Now, all he needed to say was, Karan, I'm not an astrologer. मैं ज्योतिष नहीं हूँ. I'm an analyst. And analysts can get things wrong. They can get them right. And by the way, the truth is, Prashant Kishore has probably taken more people to victory than anyone else in our country has ever done. The list of people that he's helped structure and make and be the architect of their campaign and then take them to victory is long. It's a testament to his success. So all he needed to say was, "Ek aad baar agar galti ho gayi, yaar. That is what life is like," and it would have been the end of the conversation. But by disputing it and by insisting there should be a video for it and then becoming angry and a little personal about it, he created the tamasha that everyone has now begun to talk about.
Karan Thapar ji,
things happen accidentally. I don't think he intended it to be the case. Sometimes situations snowball out of a person's control and you regret what happened. That often happens. I mean, there are moments in my life, fortunately not on television, when I've also mishandled and misreacted and done the wrong thing. Luckily, it wasn't on television and I was able to back off and apologize to the person concerned. But these things do happen. So, it may be a tamasha at the moment, but it's not something I take terribly seriously. And I hope at some point, Prashant and I can continue to be friends. We were friends before this. I hope we can continue to be, and this can be put behind us, because this was a storm in a teacup. It wasn't a very big thing.
इंटरव्यू के बाद क्या हुआ? अब आपने इतना कह दिया है तो मैं पूछ दूं, मतलब वो क्या उठ के चले गए? Did he storm out?
बिल्कुल उठ के नहीं गए. इंटरव्यू के खत्म होने के बाद लगभग 10-12 हो सकता है 15 मिनट बैठे रहे. गुस्सा उनका चलता गया. It was quite clear he was upset and annoyed and angry, and I could understand that. Maybe by that stage he was a little angry with himself. I'm guessing, I don't know for sure. But sometimes he would have also realized that, hang on, I may not have handled this from my own point of view as well as I could have. And some of that anger was for me. Some of that anger may have been internalized for himself. But he was there for a good 12-15 minutes. And then he left, and I walked with him to his car. And he got into his car. I stood there till his car drove off and waved out, but I'm not sure he was looking at me.
करण जी, मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहता हूँ, इतने दशकों में इतना यू हैव अ लॉन्ग एक्सपीरियंस, कब से तो हम ही लोग इंटरव्यू करते हुए देख रहे हैं. हार्ड टॉक में भी आपके इंटरव्यू थे जब बीबीसी पर वो प्रोग्राम आप करते थे, उसके पहले भी, उसके बाद भी. और रिसर्च का एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट और क्रूशियल रोल होता है आपके लाइन ऑफ क्वेश्चनिंग में. आप ऐसे ही नहीं बोलते हैं कि सम पीपल आर सेइंग या मैंने सुना है. वो हमेशा किसी ना किसी तथ्य पर आधारित होता है कि इस अखबार के इस दिन की इस तारीख को ये लिखा है या उस प्रोग्राम के इस डेट में ये लिखा है, और उस हिसाब से आप सवाल पूछते हैं. इस लिहाज से मैं आपसे ही पूछना चाहता हूं, ये कितना जरूरी है आज के इस दौर में अगर आपको अच्छा सवाल पूछना है, टू बेस इट इन फैक्ट?
I think it's important, Sanket, because if you are challenging someone and pointing out something that they said or did, which they instinctively might not want to welcome or accept, then it's important that you should know when they said it, what they said, and be able to quote it back to them. It ensures that if they turn around and say to you, when did I say that? You can easily and happily and readily answer. And it's a way of protecting yourself, to be honest, against the charge, I never said it, or you're unprepared, or when you don't have the factual details behind you. So for years, when I am quoting something to someone which I think they may not want to accept because it's contrary or different to the positions they've taken today, or it contradicts something that they said at a later time, I make sure that underneath my question, in brackets, I've written, for instance, for example, Indian Express, 21st December 2002. So that should they challenge me, I'll say that's exactly where it appeared.
करण थापर जी, एक चार्ज अक्सर रहता है, और खास तौर से वो लोग जो अपने आप को रिसीविंग एंड पर पाते हैं आपके सवालों के, उनका ये कहना है कि वो सवाल पूछते पूछते करण थापर पर्सनल हो जाते हैं. वो अपनी एक फीलिंग अपने उस सवाल में डाल देते हैं. वो फिर सिर्फ तथ्य नहीं रहता. There is a little bit of Karan Thapar in that question, and it is not a statement in fact or just a fact alone.
Let me put it like this. If it is the case that in asking a question I become personal, then it is clearly a mistake, an error on my part, and a lapse on my part, and it shouldn't happen. Because no anchor should actually allow an element of his personal feelings or emotions or his personal position to show. The truth is, when an anchor asks a question, you shouldn't be able to sense either from the content in terms of the language he's using or from the tone that this is actually the truthful position of the anchor. He is actually asking a question, and the best anchor would be one who could question a British Conservative Prime Minister from a Labour point of view, and equally credibly, a British Labour Prime Minister from a Tory point of view, without the audience believing that he's somehow allied with them or he's somehow prejudiced against them. So if a personal reflection of my opinion is coming through my questions, then I readily accept that is a lapse and error and mistake on my part, and
जैसे प्रधानमंत्री का आपने, जब वो प्रधानमंत्री नहीं बने थे 2007 का वो इंटरव्यू जिसमें वो तो अब मीम बन गया है, दोस्ती बनी रहे, मेरे ख्याल से आपको वो हजारों बार कोट किया गया होगा, आपसे सवाल पूछे गए होंगे, उसमें आप सवाल पूछते पूछते प्रधानमंत्री से बोल गए कि आपका राज्य जो है वो इतना अच्छा है, राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन ने उसको इतना अच्छा माना है, ये, एंड येट टू योर फेस पीपल कॉल यू अ मास मर्डरर. डू यू थिंक यू हैव, और आपने इस तरीके से फ्रेम किया, तो आपने पहले कुछ तथ्य बताए और उसके बाद फिर वो सवाल जो है वो एक पर्सनलाइज्ड क्वेश्चन था, मतलब वो फ्रेम इस तरीके से किया, स्ट्रक्चर किया, दैट यू नो पिन प्रिकिंग.
पर्सनलाइज नहीं था. And let me explain why. I was in that question, I was drawing a contrast between how the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, and there was one other foundation that I quoted, India Today possibly, both of these had put Mr. Modi down as the best chief minister in the country. And the contrast that I was making was that when 140 million Muslims talk about you, and that was the population size at the time in 2007, they think of you as a mass murderer. And I thought carefully about using that phrase, mass murderer. I knew that it would be one that would stand out and would provoke and perhaps upset and annoy him. I was very conscious of that. But I said, the truth is, what do Muslims, when they're sitting on their own, say of Mr. Modi? And if I'm going to be honest, then I should actually use the language they use. He's a politician and he needs to be tough enough to take it. And if I don't use the language they use and I come up with a euphemism and soft quote it, then I'm not being truthful in reflecting what Muslims think of him. So the honest and truthful thing was to make that comparison in the best honest terms. India Today magazine and the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation consider you the best chief minister in the country, and that was the case and that was the truth. But 140 million Muslims think of you as a mass murderer, which is how they did think of him. They wouldn't have said it in public for fear of being mistaken to be rude or for fear.
करण थापर जी, बस मैं समझने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. देखिए ऐसा है कि ये कहना कि कितने मुसलमान हैं देश में, वो सब आपको इस तरीके से सोचते हैं, वो आपको एक मास मर्डर, ये एक,
I'm not interrupting you, but when one says 140 million Muslims think of you as a mass murderer, it doesn't mean in the English language that I've met every one of those 140 million and they all think of you as a mass murderer. It's a turn of phrase, a term of speech. And it's a way of saying that the majority of the Muslims, the vast majority, the preponderant majority think of you in that way. Therefore, that's a turn of phrase which you can't take literally to mean 140 million. It's a way of saying, it's like Mr. Modi is constantly talking about how 1.2 billion people, right? 102 crore think of him in this way. He hasn't met anywhere near even 3 crore people. They haven't told him this, but it's a turn of phrase, a term of speech. In the same way, 140 million is a turn of phrase and a term of speech. You must take it in the same way.
Sure. अब मैं आपसे एक सवाल ये पूछना चाहता हूं कि आपका सबसे मुश्किल इंटरव्यू आपके करियर का कौन सा रहा है जिसमें आपके पसीने छुड़ा दिए या आपको पानी पिला दिया किसी ने तर्क दे के और बात कर करके?
Such Sanket, there would have been many such interviews. Remember, I have been doing interviews as a television career since roughly 1982, which means that 42 years have gone on. So there would be many, not just a few, not just a handful, many. But the one that comes to my mind at this moment, as you asked the question, as perhaps one of the most difficult, was not because the person wasn't cooperating or was being rude, was because he was extremely shy at the time. And I'm talking, well, maybe I shouldn't name the person, but I'm talking about one of the country's most highly regarded film music composers who did the music for Slumdog Millionaire, and I'm pretty sure you guess who I'm talking about.
Now everybody knows.
And he had won the Padma Bhushan or Padma Shri that evening. He'd come from Rashtrapati Bhavan. I was interviewing him for the BBC program Face to Face. And it was a sort of chat show interview reveling in the stories of his life. But he was extremely shy and unused to it, and very, very, very different to the highly accomplished and sophisticated person he is today. Because remember, I'm talking about somewhere in the late 90s. And when I asked him the first question, his answer was, When I asked the second, when I asked the third, he went, And I was getting flummoxed and extremely nervous. And so I said, tell me, making a joke of it, what's the difference between and he said, And, we did that interview 3 or 4 times. And my colleagues and I spent the night in studio saying to each other, no. I think the answer to question 3 is longer in version 2. Let's go there. And then the answer to question 5 is longer in version 1. And we were fooling all over the place to find the longest answer to the question. But he was extremely nice, extremely likable. I have the warmest feelings in my heart for him. It was just that he was nervous, and his nervousness translated into a nightmare for a television anchor and producer.
So what I gather is, आपकी बात से मुझे ये समझ में आता है, जो बड़बोले लोग होते हैं, उनका इंटरव्यू जो है वो करने में आपको कोई तकलीफ नहीं होती, क्योंकि आप उनके बात, उनके शब्द, उनसे सवाल निकाल करके उनको घेर भी सकते हैं. लेकिन जो कम बोलता है, जो शायद इतना ज्यादा पब्लिक रेकनिंग में रहना पसंद नहीं करता, कम शब्दों में अपने आप को बयान करता है, वो आपको भी एक तरीके से नर्वस कर देता है. नर्वस इन द सेंस कि अब मैं क्या पूछूं.
Absolutely. People who are reticent, tongue-tied, taciturn, who speak very little, are a nightmare to interview, because remember, an interview develops on the basis of the answers. Obviously, you have a set of questions that you want to ask, right? But the communication that happens between the questions that you thought of depends entirely upon what the person says. And you find things from either what they've said or the tone or the look on their face to keep the discussion going. By the way, that is also how conversations in drawing rooms with your friends happen. You respond to tone of voice, manner, laughter, whatever it is. That's how they go, if you think about it. So when a person is very, very tongue-tied and literally sticks to yes, no, or maybe, it becomes a very difficult conversation to handle, not because they're being unfriendly. Although, by the way, if you wish to be unfriendly, this is a superb tactic for an interviewee to use. So the best way of holding a tough interviewer at a distance is to be very tongue-tied and reticent in your responses.
जवाब ही ना दें. आप जवाब नहीं देंगे तो आप क्या ही सवाल पूछेंगे, कितने सवाल पूछ लेंगे. मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाहता हूं कि ये जब इंटरव्यू खत्म होता है, एक इंटरव्यू तो मुझे अभी भी याद है जयललिता का, जिसमें आपने सवाल पूछे और उसके बाद लास्ट में आपने बोला थैंक यू, इट वाज अ प्लेजर. उन्होंने कहा आई मस्ट से इट वाज नॉट अ प्लेजर एट ऑल. मुझे बिल्कुल भी कोई मजा नहीं आया आपसे बात करके, और उठ के चली गई. आप अपने मन में आप क्या सोचते हैं?
सिर्फ उठ के नहीं गई, रूठ के भी गई.
आप अपने आप को क्या सोचते हैं? मतलब आपका मकसद क्या होता है कि एक इंटरव्यू चर्चा में अच्छा इंटरव्यू कब हो? जब आप किसी को असहज बना दें, या आपके लिए एक अच्छे इंटरव्यू के मायने कुछ और होते हैं?
Let me tell you that whenever an interview ends, and particularly when it ends in quotes badly, because you can sense that the interviewee is not happy, and you can sense that he or she is not happy because they are conscious of the fact that they haven't performed as well as they could have. Right? And let me be honest, I'm a human being just as the person I'm talking to is a human being, you can sense that someone's unhappy, and they're unhappy with themselves because they haven't performed up to their own expectations. And that affects a person's ego. It affects the way you think of yourself. And I don't want to leave people like that. The interview is a professional job. I've done my job. The interview is over. But then I am aware of the fact that I have perhaps upset their ego. And I make a point of writing a letter. Obviously, I don't apologize for the interview, not in any manner at all. But I write a letter to try and reach out in other ways because I know that I will one day need to interview them again. And I'd like them, when I come back knocking on their door 6 months or a year later, for them to say yes. And you reach out because I think you feel they are human beings. They may not have performed well today. Tomorrow, Karan, won't perform well. But a little human touch to make them feel a little better without in any way apologizing for the interview is just a normal human thing to do.
करण थापड़ जी, आप जब इंटरव्यू कर रहे हैं किसी का और आप सवाल पूछ रहे हैं, मैं तो ये नहीं कहूंगा कि ये तोहमत है, लेकिन वो एक स्टाइल है जिसमें आप बोलते बोलते इंटरजेक्ट करते हैं जी। आप वो सेंटेंस कंप्लीट नहीं होने देते हैं। जैसे अगर कोई कुछ थॉट कर रहा है तो आपको एक जरूरत महसूस होती है कि मैं इंटरजेक्ट करके यहां पर ये बात बोलूं। अब ऐसे और भी तमाम लोग करते हैं। एंड इन कंटेम्प्रेरी टाइम्स आप जानते हैं कि एक श्री अर्णब गोस्वामी हैं जिन्होंने एक आदत बना ली है इंटरजेक्ट करने की। अब जाहिर सी बात है, जब हम लोग व्हेन वी वर ग्रोइंग अप तब एक तुलना होती थी, और तुलना ये होती थी रिपोर्टर्स में कि एक करण थापर करते थे, अब ये कर रहे हैं। मैं आपसे जानना चाहता हूं कि आप वो फर्क क्या देखते हैं? बेसिकली क्या इंटरजेक्ट करके रूड हो जाना ही एक अच्छे इंटरव्यू की निशानी है?
नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं।
हाउ डू यू डिफरेंशिएट?
You should never be rude to your guest. You have no business to be rude to your guest. And the second you are rude to your guest, whether in tone or in language or in general manner and behavior, you've lost the sympathy of the audience, full stop. And remember, you are, as I said at the very beginning, asking questions on behalf of the audience. If you've lost the sympathy of the very audience on whose behalf you're asking questions, there's no point continuing. So rudeness is verboten. It's out always, in tone, in language, in manner. However, this doesn't mean that you can't interrupt. But there is an art, I think, or skill to interrupting. You interrupt because the person is deliberately waffling and not answering your question. You have a limited time. Most interviews have to happen within 25 or 30 minutes. If the person waffles and spends 2 minutes waffling, that's 2 minutes of credible time taken out of your interview. More importantly, remember, you're doing the interview on behalf of the audience. The audience are also aware that this person is waffling and wasting my time. If you let that person continue to waffle, again, it is a discourtesy to your audience because they are aware that bhai, ye banda jawab nahi de raha, he's waffling, he's wasting time. On behalf of the audience, you need to politely but firmly interrupt and step in and say, forgive me, that wasn't the question I asked. Please come back to what I asked, answer that. That interruption needs to be done at a time when it is already apparent to the audience that he's waffling. Sometimes as an anchor, because you're so immersed in the conversation, you will sense the person is waffling before it becomes clear to the audience. Experience will teach you to wait a little bit longer so that the audience too realize ye jawab nahi de raha, ye waffle kar raha hai. At that point, when you think the audience have also realized it, that's when you interrupt.
Also, interruption, Karan ji, आपको लगता है, sorry, I have interrupted you. आपको नहीं लगता है कि interruption भी जो है वो natural होना चाहिए और एक एक्ट नहीं होना चाहिए? हो क्या गया है जो समझ में आता है कि अब आप अगर तेज ना बोलें, चीख चीख के उंगली ना दिखाएं, तो तब तक ऐसे नहीं माना जाता कि आपने बड़ा टफ सवाल पूछा। एक तो टफ सवाल क्या होता है मुझे आज तक कभी समझ में नहीं आया। दिस सॉफ्ट सवाल एंड टफ सवाल मुझे नहीं मालूम, लेकिन आपको लगता है स्टाइल नहीं बनाना चाहिए? जैसे इन योर केस यू आर सेइंग ये तरीका नेचुरल है। मैं सेकंड गेस करता हूं ऑडियंस की फ्रस्ट्रेशन को, और तब
You phrased it brilliantly. Style nahi banana chahiye. Lekin the problem is, and I'm sure all TV interviewers will accept this, that there's a certain element, it's undesirable, but it's unavoidable also. There's a certain element of acting in anchoring. You are putting on a performance for yourself and for the audience. You are aware that you're being watched. Sometimes your manner and behavior, your tone and your voice becomes exaggerated. That happens because you're performing, you're projecting yourself. But you're right, style nahi banana chahiye. So you need to be conscious of yourself and keep that side of yourself in check. Again, experience teaches you how to do it. If I go back and watch the interviews I did in the 80s and 90s, right? There's a lot of what you would have called style banawing happening because I was younger, I was less experienced, I was less capable of visualizing myself in my head as I was questioning on television. As you get older, you get a sense of how am I doing while you're still doing it? There's a part of you inside your head that's looking at yourself, that's looking and hearing at you and says to you, hang on a second, you asked that question very badly. Your tone was all wrong. Correct yourself, for God's sake. You're becoming belligerent. Stop it. And you do begin to correct yourself, but that comes with experience. So when you're younger and inexperienced, style banawing happens, but it shouldn't. So you're very correct and right in pointing it out. It shouldn't, it's wrong.
करण जी, कभी ऐसा हुआ है कि कोई इंटरव्यू के बाद किसी इंसान ने इंटरव्यू के बाद आपको हाथ मिला करके बोला हो कि मजा आ गया आपसे बात करके, थैंक यू सो मच, आपने इतनी अच्छी बात की, आपने मेरी बखिया भी उधेड़ दी लेकिन बड़ा अच्छा लगा?
There are many interviews, I hope, that have ended with the interviewee and the guest feeling happy, staying on for a cup of tea, becoming possibly sometimes, not often, but sometimes a friend or at least a person that you've interviewed many times. I would be extremely unhappy if all my interviews ended with people saying, "Ye to dushman aadmi hai." I would feel that I've let myself down and also let down the profession. So I think there are many occasions when people have walked away pleased.
दो आखिरी सवाल. एक तो आपका जो पिछला नरेंद्र मोदी का इंटरव्यू था वो मेरे ख्याल कितना 7 या 7.25 मिनट में खत्म हो गया या उससे पहले भी?
2 minutes 40 seconds.
तो मैंने तो बहुत ज्यादा बोल दिया. 2 मिनट और 40 सेकंड में खत्म हुआ. Would you like to interview?
But I think I'm right.
Would you like to interview him again?
I would love to interview him again.
क्योंकि उन्होंने तो कहा है दोस्ती बनी रहे.
जी, लेकिन उन्होंने ये भी कहा था, अगले दिन उन्होंने मुझे फोन की थी और उन्होंने कहा था because by then CNN IBN was showing the 2 minute 30 second interview as a headline item and therefore it was in every single news bulletin, which means that if there are 30 bulletins in a day, that 2 minutes 30 seconds was shown 30 times in a day. So on Monday afternoon he rang me and he said to me, तुमने तो मेरे कंधे पे बंदूक रख के गोली मारी है. मैंने कहा मोदी साहब, मैंने आपको कहा था कल रात को कि if you leave me with a 2.5 minute interview, it will become a news item. Whereas if you do the full interview, it will be shown once, maybe repeated once and forgotten about. And he laughed and he said, chalo chodo. And his exact words were, Karan, brother, I love you. और जब मैं दिल्ली आऊंगा तो भोजन करेंगे. Now I don't know about the love, मगर वो भोजन तो कभी हुआ नहीं.
नहीं हुआ?
नहीं, कभी नहीं हुआ.
ओहो,
मिले तक नहीं.
2007 की बात है ना ये? 2007 या 2008?
अक्टूबर 2007.
2007 से लेके 2024 हो गए, वो भोजन नहीं हुआ है आपका. अब ये देखना होगा कि वो
मिले तक नहीं.
आपको तो लेफ्ट लिबरल कहा जाता है. कभी आपने अपने आप को सोचा है कि आप कौन से लेफ्टी बनना चाहेंगे? आप तो लेफ्ट लिबरल हैं.
But left liberal is a mistaken description of me. Anyone who knows me would tell you liberal I am and liberal I hope I will always be. Liberal I would like to live up to. Sometimes I don't think I'm as liberal in my behavior and attitude to others as I should be, and that is a fault that I will accept. But liberal is something I would aspire to be and be proud of if I could successfully achieve. Left, I don't think I am. I think the younger Karan, going back 40 years, might have been left of some sort and description, but the Karan of the 50s and 60s is not a lefty at all.
Then who is he?
Probably more center right, and on some issues perhaps even a little bit more right, particularly tax related issues.
आप अपने आप को राइट विंग मानते हैं?
नहीं, राइट विंग नहीं मानता हूं. I said
center right.
And on some tax related issues, maybe more to the right than the center. But I wouldn't accept that I'm right wing. No, that would be going too far to the other end.
क्योंकि आप जानते हैं ना, आजकल के इस जमाने में जहां छोटी छोटी क्लिप बन करके निकल करके डिकोड होती है, ये क्लिप का भी कुछ और ही वर्जन हो सकता है
जी,
निकल
but when
करके
I
आ
said
जाए।
right, I meant right in terms of economic thinking, right in
Right.
terms of a great respecter of freedom, freedom of speech and liberty. I would not call myself right in terms of Hindutva by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't believe anyone in the country would make that mistake either.
आखिरी सवाल, any interview you would have done differently, जो उसका
Oh,
अंजाम कुछ हो गया, लेकिन आप अगर दूसरा मौका मिलता तो उसको जरा दूसरे तरीके से करते।
Ji, several. There's one that comes to my mind. The last interview I did with Mr. Advani, I would have done differently because it became the last interview. He's a man I've had enormous respect for, a man that I've gained and learned a lot from. At one point, I had his trust, and I would add carefully and thoughtfully, perhaps even a certain measure of his affection. And I think that last interview lost it. I've written about all of this in my book, so I'm not revealing anything that's terribly new. But certainly, I would have done that last interview differently had I known that it might end in a relationship spoiling, because I valued the relationship. And one of the great dangers, if you'll give me another minute, is that you
Sure.
must never allow yourself as a current affairs television interviewer to become close to politicians, because you have a job that requires that you hold them to account. If you become close to, in terms of familiar with, I don't necessarily even mean friendly with, just familiar with, then that holding them to account becomes difficult, because the expectation in their mind is that you will be kinder, whereas the expectation in your mind is you're doing a journalistic job. I had that problem in a sense with Mr. Advani, in a much bigger sense with Benazir Bhutto, who I've known all my life from our university days together. And in Benazir's case, whenever we ended an interview, she used to joke and say, "We need to have ice cream together immediately because you're fuming." And she said, "If you don't have ice cream, you won't cool down and we'll never be friends. We'll be remembering this awful moment of this interview forever and ever." She was very sensible in that respect, much wiser than I am. And she would always say, "We need to cool down and be friends for 15, 20 minutes after the interview so that when we meet again, we go back to the friendship rather than the acrimony of the interview." But that is the problem that happens when you are interviewing people that you are familiar with, you know well, you have a separate relationship with. There's a crossing of connections, which is very dangerous for a journalist, very dangerous for a friend.
करण थापर जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद ये समय देने के लिए। बहुत अच्छे से बहुत सारी चीजें सीखने को मिली हैं, समझ में आई हैं। वी हैव गॉट टू नो अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ यू। और एक स्टाइल, मतलब सिंस वी आर ऑल लर्निंग, आपसे मैं सीख रहा हूं। हमने इतने दिनों में तमाम लोगों का इंटरव्यू स्टाइल देख करके ये जाना कि द की टू अ गुड इंटरव्यू इज टू स्पीक लेस एंड से मोर एंड लिसन एज मच एज यू कैन। वो एक आइडियल इंटरव्यू बन जाता है अगर आप इस तरीके से करें। आई डोंट नो
जी, मैं
वेदर
आपको एक और चीज कह दूंगा एज अ पार्टिंग गिफ्ट, and it took me years to learn it. It's not something I knew automatically, and I was helped by people in London who were interviewers who also advised me. Don't always rush to ask the next question. Sometimes deliberately, consciously pause, let there be a gap before you ask the next question. And often, not always, but often, the guest will fill in the gap. People don't like gaps in conversation. They rush to fill it up. And when you rush to fill a gap, there's a very good chance the guest will be saying things he didn't mean to say. At that moment, so don't ask me why and how it happens, but they start revealing things they would never reveal otherwise. So hold back the next question psychologically, occasionally, not always, but occasionally, and you'll find people start telling you things they didn't intend to say.
बहुत खूब, ये ट्रिक यूज करूंगा मैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। वाटर विद करण के इस एपिसोड में मेरा तो एक ग्लास खत्म हो गया, लेकिन बहुत अच्छा लगा आपसे बात करके। करण थापर, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर टाइम। थैंक यू।
Thank you very much, Sanket. Take care.